What's up, everybody? What is up? Welcome to another episode 65. Wow, of A Stoked Podcast. We are getting old in this podcast game. I am kind of shocked we're still doing it and that I haven't burned out yet, but it's okay.
Do you like doing it?
No, I like doing it, but I'm tired. I am, as always, Javon O. Stokes, aka the most opinionated man in comics. This gentleman, damn it. I haven't done it that long. This gentleman is Jamari Stokes, educator of youth, professional hater. Welcome to another episode of A Stoked Podcast. It's good to see you guys after a week off. For those that don't know, I was in North Carolina for Heroes Con, which was fantastic.
He was having a great time.
I had a great time, but as you can see, I'm tired, man. This tour that I'm doing, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. And I didn't realize how much it was going to be. I'm probably touring on the level of like real professional creators right now, which is a dream, and it's also really, really tiring. So this is actually, I got 2 weeks off. I won't be at a con this weekend and next weekend, but the weekend after that,
You lied.
No, I'm serious. I got 2 weeks off. But I will be at, and this hasn't been put on the flyer yet, and I'll do it tomorrow. I will be at Contropolis, New Jersey. So, if you're one of the few people that aren't going to BlurredCon, come to Contropolis, New Jersey. Come see me. Come say hi. Come get some comics, and you'll enjoy it. But as for the rest of July, I'm trying to get Springfield Comic-Con, Connecticut. I'll be doing a panel, as I've told before, but I'm trying to get a table as well. And then we're going to cap off the rest of July with Terrificon, which I'm really looking forward to, which will be the last con I do before I'm 42. So, yeah, I'm getting old. Your boy's getting old. Anywho, let's bring in our guest. He's been
patiently
waiting, and I appreciate it. Our next guest is another SCAD alumni. He is the founder of the Human Center, based in Atlanta, GA, and he has a BFA from SCAD in graphic design. He's also in his day job an art director for the events marketing firm Neo Renaissance, artist extraordinaire. He describes his work as existential and optimistically nihilistic. I can't wait to find out what that means. Let's give a Stoked Podcast round of applause to the one and only Chris James Parker.
What's up?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Life keeps going.
It never stops. And if
right.
It does, then it's good to see you, man. I haven't talked to you verbally.
Right, and seen each other's faces, right?
Face to face. I haven't talked to you in probably 10 years or so. It's been over 10 years since I've been gone from SCAD.
Yeah, same.
Facebook is a wonderful thing when you can talk. I feel like I talk to you all the time.
Right.
On Facebook.
That's kind of the interesting thing about technology these days is you're able to kind of keep touching ways that you hadn't prior,
Right.
So like I didn't go to any I don't think we had any reunions for SCAD. I haven't been any SCAD reunions, but I've had the opportunity to go to like a middle school reunion because we're pretty tight-knit kind of crew, and a high school reunion. I went to neither because I keep up with most people on Facebook and I kind of see them already. It's very busy life. So like, yeah.
Are you out of Atlanta?
Out of it meaning based out of?
Native? Are you native? Are you native to
Not
Atlanta,
native,
or
technically speaking, but yes-ish.
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 Yeah.
Yes-ish.
I think I kind of get it.
So from Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, actually.
Okay.
And came down here super early when I was like 2, was in Tennessee for like a couple years, and then came down to Atlanta in 97. I've been here since then.
I didn't know you were from Springfield.
Yeah.
That's like 10 minutes from me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it though. That's the thing. But my entire family, not my entire family, but like my mom's from there, my uncle, my aunt, my grandma lived up there for a while. That's why they were born up there. So
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's literally
really
like a 10-minute drive. It's like a 10-minute drive from me. I will actually be there in a few weeks for, as I said, Springfield Comic Con. If I don't get a table, I'm just gonna go. I haven't been to a con without tabling in a very long time.
I've never been to a con.
Oh man, you got to go to Dragon Con. You're in Georgia.
For me, it's kind of like I got to figure out a reason. Like I don't really collect so much. I'm not really a signature kind of guy. So
it's a spectacle in its own right.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
That's fair.
The experience itself is entertaining, particularly if you're somebody who likes to, there's the parade. There's usually some kind of concert events and things like that going on along in conjunction with it.
It's parties.
So a lot of parties.
I'm jealous. I want to be there. Honestly, if I could afford it, I would just go.
Well, that's the other thing is every time I look at the tickets, I'm like, am I paying price? Why am I here?
I get that.
What am I trying to experience here? And so that's kind of
I get
what I'm trying to figure out. So like, I've never really cosplayed before. So like, for instance, I just went and saw the new Spider-Verse movie for the second time, and like Spider-Punk, Obi, it's like top 3 for me now, and it's like he's a guy that I could probably like cosplay.
You probably pull that off.
It's gonna be a lot of them. I'm pretty.
I'm
pretty sure it's gonna be a lot of them.
I've seen, I've already seen stuff online where people immediately took to that character.
I think I saw 3 this past weekend.
Already? Yeah.
I think I saw 3. They didn't have the hair though. They had everything and they put the mask on, but they didn't have the hair.
I don't quite have the hair either, to be honest. But what I will say is, for me, that's a character I feel like I'd be able to sort of embody and do my own thing with, more so than a lot of other characters that I've sort of. There hasn't been a lot of characters that I feel like has been like me and like my build and, something that I feel like I'd be able to kind of portray that I really care about,
See, you've already got, it sounds like you've already got a philosophy behind cosplaying because you're already thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of thought about it, but I've never done it because it's a lot of effort, and plus I never knew how to like make costumes or anything. And I just recently learned to sew. And so,
you're ahead of me.
Well, I mean, I guess if I'm going to go, I'd probably just go without cosplaying initially, just for the experience, But I guess the dream, if I do decide to, figure out what my why is for real, would be cosplaying while I'm doing it,
Well, it's honestly, I'll say this, and I've never cosplayed before, but I've seen enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a really good cosplay, it's like you become almost a celebrity at the con.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
wouldn't look forward to.
What'd you say?
So I wouldn't look forward to that.
Really? Oh, okay.
Too much attention.
Well then, then you might not want to cosplay.
That's an interesting segue. Because I want to cosplay just the same way that I make art, and the same way it's for myself and for my own thing. But there just tends to be a natural, gaze on it is art,
Okay.
And so I don't really like the gaze part of it, but I like the creating of the art and the embodying of art and that kind of stuff. But the segue is to the Human Center, right?
Okay,
and
wait, we're not get there yet. I want to get there because it's about your journey. So we're gonna go back to your journey. Before I go there,
that's fair.
I saw a fantastic storm.
Yeah,
a tall, fantastic storm. She was the queen of the con. Okay,
she have the big hair.
Yeah, I got a picture. I'm gonna post
Okay.
it tomorrow. I'm gonna post my cosplay pictures tomorrow.
Mm.
I'm still trying to get because I'm tired.
Yeah.
It was a long weekend. All right. So as I say, this show is really talking about people's journey within their particular fields of their creative fields. So I always want to go back to the beginning. So when did your love of the arts begin?
When I was 4.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, it was with Superman. That was the first thing I drew.
Okay. Okay.
So my mom would sit me and my older brother down. I was really kind of following his cue initially, but I kind of looked up to him. And so, anyways, he would draw like the Superman curly cue from little hairline or whatever, and then I would fill out the rest of it and do like the big lump kind of muscles and just make Superman basically. And that's kind of where just loving to draw and make something essentially started. And just kind of like wanting to draw like Power Rangers, and I was in the Street Fighter. So like, what's the dude's name? Guile.
Kyle.
Yeah.
I used to call him Gully.
Gully.
Everybody, I
used to call him Gully.
Yeah.
I was like that. As I got older, I look back. I was like, that's not even close to how it would be. To how you say it phonetically.
Look,
go ahead.
I like Gully. I might go with that now. It's a little easier to say.
It feels better though. It feels very hood.
Gully.
That's Gully.
That's he's Gully to me from now on. I'm tell you that.
All right, listen, you're welcome to it. So did you have any like artistic influences at let me read. No. Who I lost the question. Who like nurtured who do you feel nurtured your gift as you
mean like a family member kind of thing?
Whoever.
Oh, let me see. So art was just kind of like a thing I did for a while. Like I enjoyed doing it, but I never was like an artist for a while. I did kind of realize in school though, like really early on, that I was already like really more advanced with art than other kids. So like in kindergarten, I remember I would draw people with like noses and like it was legs and arms and like a body, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I would look at everybody else and they would have like the circle with the arms coming out of it and like no noses or that kind of stuff. And so like, oh, interesting. But it was still more just like a do it kind of thing. Then I went into foster care, and the first time I remember it being like, oh, you're good at art was when I entered into like an art contest and got like second place essentially. And it was just because like, oh, I like to do art stuff. Let me enter this contest. And so I got second place, and that was my godmother at the time. It's like, oh, well, let's do this. But it still wasn't a thing until really, I want to say high school. Because it was still, and really just in school, because if you know how to draw, you're like the art kid just from like doing the drawing, but it doesn't, like I didn't feel like an artist at the time necessarily. I was just like, I do art, and then in high school, I actually was, my first job was as an artist. And so all through high school, I basically worked as a working artist, and I made like jewelry and benches, and like we would reclaim like pallets and stuff and turn it into stuff. Glass work, so that was a big thing. We had a kiln, so we would do like stained glass things or like melted mold kind of glass work kind of stuff.
Right.
So really, it was nurtured in that kind of environment. And in Atlanta is Studioplex. It was Art at Work is the name of the program. So it's like a city funded thing. And it was supposed to really give sort of disadvantaged youth and mostly delinquent youth. So it was a lot of like kids that just came out like juvenile hall or whatever, in jail or whatever, that were in the program. And so, but yeah. I was literally trying to get like a job at Wendy's, and then a friend was like, "Oh, there's like this art program that like pays people." I was like, "Oh, perfect." And so in that environment, I learned to create, and we had like art exhibits at the end of every quarter or session or whatever. So it was really similar to SCAD actually in that sort of regard. Little blitzes of we're doing jewelry this time, or we're doing whatever the project is. And I did that for 4 years, and then I became sort of an art counselor. I was really going to drop art for a while because I didn't think it was a viable career.
We've all been there. All been there.
The thing is, I really thought the only way to be an artist in the world was to be like a starving artist, and and not just starving artist. I was like a starving painter. Like that was what was in my mind. Like you had to be a painter. You couldn't be like, I didn't even think about like comics as like a thing. And so yeah, I was going to be an engineer in high school. I didn't do any art programs or anything in high school outside of like the job that I had as an artist. And then I was in a leadership program, and we went to Chicago, met with Burrell Communications, which is like a Black-owned minority firm in Chicago that was instrumental in getting Black faces in like McDonald's ads and like, just the different commercial ads in like the early 2000s. Before that was just mainly like white folks they were advertising. And so they were really instrumental in that. And there was a Black creative director and a cool ass Black copywriter that was a woman, and she had like short hair and like tattoos and like piercings and shit, and just like cool as fuck. I was like, oh. And they went to art school and went for like photography and shit and that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, well, you can like make money, because I'm like, we were visiting like the stock exchange and like Ebony magazine and stuff like that. And so that was a part of like, oh, this is something you can do. And I think it's really important to see like Black faces doing, not just Black faces, but like, whatever you are, even if you're like, white people would have that. It's just been that for forever. But like, minorities and people that haven't been represented, I think it's really important for you to be able to see yourself in a character, kind of going back to my cosplay thing. Like I haven't really seen myself as a character so much until I saw like Hobie, and I was like, oh, that feels like me more than anything.
Which is awesome, because that's kind of the point,
Yeah. And so I had that thing, and I got the Gates Millennium Scholarship because in high school I basically like dedicated myself to getting it. So I got it, and I felt like that was the only way I was going to get any type of degree, because it's expensive as hell, and I didn't want debt from it.
Well, so is that a regional?
It's a national scholarship. It's Bill Gates.
Okay. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm the thing I'm really about is exposure. Like people don't necessarily have the right exposures to different things, and so like I didn't actually know about it. I was actually in 9th grade skipping school and like smoking weed and shit. And like I was valedictorian the year before in middle school.
Wow. And
so I was like, all right, well, I accomplished that. Well, let me chill out for a minute. Like I need to take some me time back. So I was chilling, and I came across a student named Bernica Melton. I remember her name. Anyways, she told me that she had just won the Gates Scholarship and that it paid all the way up to PhD. I was like, oh, that seems like the only, because I have no money. Like it seems like that's the only way I'm gonna like go to school, basically.
Right.
And so I found out what the requirements were, which was you have to write like 9 essays about different topics.
9
essays. You have to have really good grades. You have to do a lot of volunteer work, and then you have to do a lot of extracurricular stuff. And so I did all that shit. As soon as I found out, I was like, oh, this is the only way I'm getting this shit. I already had a bad life. I already got the essay part covered. I just need to make sure that on paper I look like what they're looking for.
Right.
And so that's what I did. but it was because I was exposed to the fact that it existed. Same with graphic design as a a career path, art direction. I literally am living out a dream myself right now as an art director, because that's what I set out to do when I found out about it when I went to Chicago. And so that's been the journey. Is I went to SCAD and got the skills and the tools, which was still mostly like, you can probably attest to it. It's mostly on yourself to gain that shit. Like you can go to the school, but that don't make you a good artist or like a good fucking business person or whatever, like.
Never lie. Why'd you choose SCAD?
Because it was close to home. I went to the campus and I was like, this shit is cool as fuck. Like that shit just looked cool as hell. Like going inside, because I came from like a inner city, like Douglas High School, so like inner city.
Oh, you went to Douglas?
Yeah, I went to Frederick Douglass High School. I'm Astro.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. And so
they're known more for putting football players in the NFL.
Right, Jamal Anderson, or what's his name, Lewis.
I played against him.
Oh yeah,
you played against who?
Jamal Lewis.
Yeah,
you serious?
That's a bad boy.
I know that.
Yeah,
that's a big man.
Let's learn that today. Learn something new.
Oh yeah. How was that?
The first year they absolutely destroyed us. We played them the following year and somehow beat them. I don't know how. We were like, we're not going to let them run the trap on us again. So we ran trap defense till we were sick of it. And
you were on defense. You were on the line.
I was a lineman. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the dude broke like three 70-yard plus runs on us the first year.
Yeah.
Okay. So
beast.
SCAD. So back to SCAD. What was your first impression at starting SCAD?
My very first experience was I was in Jenny Krasner's class. This was my very first class. This woman does art with like condoms and shit in it. Like it's wild shit. And so I've never seen her art. This is just what other students told me, because I didn't really fuck with her after this. I'm gonna tell you a story though. And so the first couple of weeks into the class, because it's only 10 weeks. First couple of weeks in, it's like I'm trying my best, but she's a hard ass. Everybody at fucking SCAD is a hard ass. All the fucking professors are hard asses. But she was a hard ass, and by the time midterms rolled around and I turned in my project, because I had been pushing myself in all my projects. I always do my best in all my projects, even if it turns out shitty. Do my best, and she pulls me aside during the midterm evaluation or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like pardon all the cursing.
Not a problem.
But during the midterm situation, she pulled me aside and then she shook my hand and said, "I didn't believe in you."
I thought I was the only one that had a story like that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was my literal first class at SCAD. First teacher, first art experience. Wow. No, actually, my first art experience was taking my portfolio to SCAD before getting there and them telling me, "Kid, you need to learn the basics. This is terrible."
Wow.
So I'm very used to like hard critique and shit now, just from SCAD, like very tough skin. And as just a designer, like I have to take my whole soul out of the art that I make on a daily basis, regardless of me putting my best effort into it. So yeah, SCAD kind of was a big learning curve, but in a really beautiful way for me. Like it wasn't hard for me in that way. I just like, well, damn, bitch. That was kind of how I felt about her. Like I was like, what the fuck was what? Like I never had a teacher tell me that before. Like I told you, I had high aptitude and stuff. And so most teachers were like, yes, great, whatever. So she was like, first one is like, no.
I always feel like SCAD, I always like compare it to like athletes, right? Because like when most athletes, when they're in high school and all that other stuff, they're probably the best dudes in their conference, whatever. Like in their bubble, they're the best guys. And then they go to college and they find out you ain't the best anymore. And it's because like it's almost like the difficulty level got raised. And I feel like that's like for me, I had the same instant. I was the art guy.
Oh yeah,
I was the artist. Like everybody, oh man, he's the best artist here. And then I would get the scat and I would look next to me.
Big fish, small pond. So a big fish, small pond.
Right. You're the big fish in the small pond. And then you get to SCAD, and SCAD is a big pond. And then you realize that you're the little fish, and you got to start all over again. And I know it. Not a lot of people. I know a lot of people who struggled with that.
Yeah, it's not for everybody because, like, they show you yourself really as much as they can. Like, a lot of teachers can be pretty lenient considering how terrible some of the work can be, you know. And so I don't know. I enjoyed it. I hear horror stories from like the fashion department. Like, you know, they raised the level to such an extent that like if you can't meet this requirement, then you're not cut out for it. And it makes sense, really, because like that's the demands of the actual industry to a degree, you know.
Yeah.
Because I dipped my foot into fashion during COVID. This is sort of a tribute to it. I started a fashion line and stuff, and just not is a different thing than I thought I was getting into, you know.
Right.
And now fashion is just for me, you know. I'm not doing any commercial stuff, and so like with graphic design, even with SCAD and the way they approach graphic design, interesting. The way they approach graphic design is very mental and very pretentious in a way. And so being that I haven't really experienced that level of criticism and like eye for detail and sort of storytelling and making sure shit fits together properly and that kind of thing. I haven't really experienced that level of like manicurism, if you will, until very recently at work, working on a project where I'm working on, like, we're going to redo a website for a dog ice cream company we're working for. And so in doing that, I'm crafting a mood board, and I haven't really, because usually in this industry, in the events industry, and I do a lot of touring and stuff, I don't do personal touring, but I help develop tours and stuff through design and art direction, that kind of stuff. But like in this industry, most stuff is very fast paced, and it's like you don't really have a lot of space for pretentiousness and, you know, real highbrow design work to any degree. Really, you're just really trying to get something that meets the needs of the client, the customer, and something that to a degree is familiar and that they can buy into sort of quickly because you got to get money, you know. And so it's very difficult to get clients that you really want or that allow you the freedom to have that sort of thought process, really. And so this is a recent client. And then the creative director that I work under, he kind of was grilling me because I was working like we typically kind of work to a degree, and not putting a ton of thought into it as much as just really trying to get to an end product, you know, which I think is usually the goal in a lot of what we end up doing is, all right, we just need to get it across the finish line and like get the event done, really, you know. And so this isn't an event, there's a website, and the client isn't really particularly nitpicky or pretentious even, really, you know. It's really we can really kind of do whatever the hell we want to a degree. And so it's been an amount of freedom, but in that, I think the creative director has realized this is a good opportunity to kind of really reinvigorate the passion of design, if you will, because that's kind of what I experienced a lot of at SCAD, just for art and for any, you know, whatever the discipline is at SCAD, whatever it was, the professors were really passionate about the work they were doing. the students were really, even though it was, crying, we crying at night. Like we're really passionate about the work that we're doing and really like thinking about it and like in a space if you're really doing it right, really, and I haven't really experienced that really recently to a degree in terms of like that hub that we had.
Right.
And I feel like SCAD's not even like that now, because you remember how Spring House used to be with like we used to break dance in the down there, and like everybody'd be working together and it'd be very collaborative and just a lot of good energy and like very energetic and like a pod of artists. Like it was very special feeling. They got rid of Spring House, that they knocked it down. It doesn't exist anymore. So, and as I was there, the culture there ended up changing because they started implementing rules and that kind of thing. And so people weren't really downstairs as often. You didn't see, like, we couldn't break dance down there anymore for one. So like they started implementing rules and stuff. So like I feel like to a degree it doesn't feel like it did at that point at Spring House specifically. And like kind of like when you go overnight to the school and be working overnight trying to get your drawing done or whatever it was. I wonder if that still happens. I hope it does. But yeah, things change.
I talked with some students, and it does somewhat, but I don't think it's to the level that you guys have talked about it. Javon and some other SCAD alum who have been on the program, they've quoted similar stories. So
I think about Spring House though. That was, I think, a lot of that, like that, that community was because it was small at the time. Atlanta campus was small at the time.
That's true.
It's bigger now.
And that's kind of what I was experiencing, because I was a part of that bell curve part before it kind of exploded. So like, I want to say right around the time they started doing the Hong Kong stuff is when it really took off, and they got the media stuff going downtown and like all that sort of stuff.
I wasn't there for any of that.
And that's kind of how I feel, is I missed out on a lot of the stuff that I'd want to have done for myself, even though I really appreciate the training that I got and stuff. But like if they had a actual like production media center and stuff when I had started there and actually had gotten into my major, that started like when I was in my junior year or something like that.
They didn't have that new building when I was there.
The DMC.
Yeah. That was, from my understanding, that came right after I left.
Yeah.
Like the next year.
And by the time it came, I had already decided on my major.
I was really upset at that.
It's funny.
I came back and I was like, so y'all just drained me of my money for 4 years, and I don't even get to reap the benefits of the nice big new building. Okay,
man, they got where Spring House is now. They have like 2 giant.
I've been back
dorms.
Yeah, I've been back and I've seen like the giant dorms, but I do think there was a sense of like, I mean, I keep it real. Like, number one, there was more Black people there at the Atlanta campus than the Savannah campus when I went to SCAD. Okay. And it was really like tight.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you knew one Black person, you were eventually going to make your way to meet all the Black people. So, and then Spring House was like, they had a chill area, like you said, with the pool table and the ping pong and some chairs and some, whatnot. Plus they would do things. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
They would like watch Boondocks, or Scandal every week in the little like media room. No, it wasn't even media room. It was just a room with a TV, or play video games or stuff like that. So but it was small though.
Dude, I was there when Obama won. That shit was amazing.
I was there.
Oh yeah, like that shit was like great night.
I remember that night. That was a great night. That was. I remember Michael Cook like walking through, like he was so loud. I'm sorry. I just remember that night. That was a good night, though. That was
Yeah,
a really
man,
good night,
like-
man. That was wow.
But yeah, I
Wow.
really missed the energy of the folks that were there. Everybody there was so good folks, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There was a lot of jerks.
A lot of jerks, but I
No, there
think
wasn't. I said there wasn't.
oh,
I don't know.
there
about you,
were a
but
lot of. Well, I would see people get into it. I definitely heard shit through the walls and like would see stuff, but like
I missed all that.
it was generally everything that I saw was generally just real good stuff.
Okay.
Just really, I don't know, good memories and stuff.
Good. All right,
Collaboration.
let's get into where you at now. Now you are doing a couple of things, really cool things. We could talk about your day job or your night job. Which one you want to get into?
Well, I'll talk about the day job for a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about your day job. Now, the name of the company is
It's Melt.
Melt.
So it's Melt Atlanta, like melting cheese, like
Right.
Melt. Yeah.
Okay.
So Melt.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us about what you do.
So I've been there since 2018. I got furloughed during COVID, but like still did like contract work with them and stuff. But essentially, it's an events marketing firm. And when I first got there, our big client was like Coca-Cola. So we would do like events for Coca-Cola. A big thing would be doing a Coke activation at NCAA Final Four.
Okay.
And so similar to like doing a convention, but more so doing creating experiences for customers to buy into like a brand, essentially. So one of our recent clients was Aflac, and we've done a couple of things with them. One of my proudest achievements was from last year when we did the New Orleans Final Four.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was really fun because one, I love New Orleans. I got to go to the city for free, and on Aflac's dime and all that stuff, and do some shooting and that kind of stuff. Met the Aflac duck, all that kind of thing. But the experience was it was kind of similar to what I was telling you about the highbrow, when we really got a chance to really go into some really creative stuff. And this was when I first kind of got back full time with them in 2022. And so essentially what I designed, or what we designed, because it was a big collaborative effort, but I put together a great majority of it, honestly. But we designed a house that was sort of based on the Aflac commercial that had Wanda and Lil Rel in it, essentially. Okay. And essentially what they did is an accident would happen in the house, it would freeze frame, and then they would roll up and do like a pre-pain show. So they're like announcers and like doing commentary, jokes or whatever on why you should have had Aflac before this accident happened, essentially. And so we took that idea and we basically turned it into a walkthrough experience to sort of walk through the commercial. So you're walking through somebody's house. And so the idea is we called it the House of the Unexpected. And so we dropped it into the middle of this convention center with all these other activations going, but it looks like a house, which is already kind of like an unfamiliar thing, unexpected thing. And so you walk into this house and it's sort of an AR experience too. It didn't work out as well as we wanted it to because of timelines and deadlines and like money and
right.
But the way I designed it, if the money had been properly allocated and designs proper, or not designs, but like timelines properly adhered to, that kind of thing, it would have been a really cool experience where you're kind of like in the metaverse. You're using VR on your phone to like uncover. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt to uncover the different accident-prone areas of your house. And so you go to it, and then you kind of are supposed to kind of like be scared from it or something like that. But really, you kind of are supposed to understand how Aflac would have fit into that scenario if it were to occur, kind of thing. So like, oh, you can slip on a puddle right here on your porch, Aflac, blah, 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 blah. So all the way through the experience. Really cool part of the experience was when you walk into the hallway, it morphs into like a fun house, because that was really the original idea, was to turn into like a fun house kind of thing where you're walking through the house like you're in the commercial, but then it turns into more like you're doing games and stuff. And client stripped out quite a bit of that stuff, and we were left with this one thing in the middle. So we had this area where the garage where you're looking for accidents and looking at how we kind of basically printed a house out of like printed on vinyl or whatever, and it looked super realistic, really great print. You walk through, you do that, and then now you have to like try to get through these bills that are swinging, and score a basket through that. So it's like unexpectedly now you got to like overcome your bills, and Affleck helps you score or something like that, you know. And you get to the backyard, and there's like a piñata, which is like the other commercial spot they had, and so it's like the Ducks birthday party. And you're doing photo op, and originally we would have liked to like serve like king cake and stuff like that, but could not because permits and all that sort of stuff.
It's always interesting to hear how much money kind of determines judges.
You know what? I want to talk to you about something real quick.
Deals with when you're, especially corporate, when you're in the corporate world, and you know that once if you don't have enough money, it can truncate your artistic vision. You know, I've been there.
So that made me think of that freaking Secret Invasion intro. Right. And so when I think about it, and as an artist, right, as an art director, I've already been implementing AI, not in finished work, right, in public facing work, but as pitch idea stuff. So like quickly get to a place with a design for images that don't exist, right? That would cost a ton of time and money to secure those types of images. And so quickly get to this type of image so that we can sell in an idea to a client to then go and pay a creative to replicate or whatever, right, you know. But I'm also being paid currently to create AI artwork for a publication, right? So it's a Black-owned publication called Scalawag in, I think, Carolina somewhere, South Carolina, North Carolina somewhere. Never been to North Carolina. I'm going to North Carolina next week for the first time. So
it's a great place.
Yeah, can't wait. But yeah, so I'm doing this AI artwork for them, and I'm being paid to literally create AI artwork. But I'm also using my artistic know-how, background, etc., to create, one, those images, but two, to get it to a place where it's usable as well.
Right.
And so when I think to that intro, and I sort of saw a little research, I did a little research on it, and that they did, I don't know what the actual company's name is, but they paid a company to implement that technology. Artists are involved in that company, are being paid, right? I don't really care for what it looked like. It was like, ugh, like I could have did better than that. But artists were paid to do that, and that same company had been utilized for prior projects that didn't necessarily involve AI in that way. And they utilize AI in other ways, and we've probably all utilized AI to a degree and haven't necessarily realized it. Like in Photoshop, that what's it called? It's not, because they have the new generate image thing now in Photoshop, which is AI, but the content aware situation, that's an AI thing, but we've been using that for years as, like, you know, artists or whatever in the industry. And so my thoughts on it are just, I don't quite know how to feel about it. I don't really like AI just generally because I think it's the Antichrist. I think it's going to destroy the world.
Oh no!
At some point, because I don't think that we're properly reining it into what needs to rein it in a way right now. Because I think right now is a crucial moment in the timeline of that for us to get ahead of, like, you know, putting in proper laws, protocols, etc. For instance, I believe the AI stuff is going to take everybody's job. I think it can do what I do eventually. Like, I'm doing it now because it needs something to prompt it, but eventually it will prompt itself. It will learn how to do that, You know what I mean? And it'll learn how to do the thinking to put together. Like I've already put into ChatGPT, like how to strategize full campaigns for commercial work. And it's like, we didn't use that, but what we had already strategized, like I matched it to what we had already strategized. And it was very similar. We had just had more detail on what we were doing.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like we've opened Pandora's box. We're here now. And the policies and litigation and everything to control this thing is taking too long to get put in place. And if you wait too long, again, Pandora's box is already open. It's going to be hard to pull it back. I mean, we just what was it? There was a report of the drone that killed the drone that killed the drone's operator or something because it was programmed to take out like an obstacle, and the AI determined that the programmer was the obstacle, and it killed him.
That's the idea. As far as like, I saw a video. I'll link you to it. The idea right now.
Wait, what did you say?
Skynet, anyone?
That's what I'm saying. Like I think AI is something that somebody did or people have been doing, and nobody ever stopped to go, should we be doing this?
People have.
Well, let me rephrase it.
The thing is, like, we have to collectively.
The people who are doing it never really stop to go.
No, the thing is, like they are actively doing that. A lot of them are like leaving jobs and stuff. The issue is that money is what's driving the thing, and the thing exists right now because someone has it, and so now it's an arms race because now you have to do it the best, and that's what's going to spur it on more.
I mean, what Marvel did is I get the artistic reasoning behind why they did it. Like when they explained it, I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, but you could have got artists to implement that and do it better. Again, it's a slippery slope. It's a real slippery slope.
So
I think
here,
go ahead.
I was just going to introduce this real quick. And this is something I saw on the video that scared the shit out of me about AI, essentially. But he said we should be marching in the streets and asking for these AI companies to be taxed at a 98% revenue stream, because that's how important they're going to become to our lives. Like, I have a friend that's a PhD student right now in the psychology field. She's currently using AI to help speed up her processes and stuff. And so, like, this is a very, very, very real thing. And the other idea I want to introduce is, like, the way that we're using it now is going to become the building blocks to how AI understands life and existence and stuff, right? And so think of how humanity is right now and how we, like, use things, and, like, literally, like, this fucking submarine thing, like, people just died and the world is nothing but jokes.
Well, you know, I still think when rich people do something that's obviously stupid, when rich people do something that's obviously stupid and that ends up in them being hurt or died, society is generally always made fun of them.
I'll tell you this.
Now, if they were just like regular folks,
if they were regular ass people would have still had them same fucking jokes. I'll be honest. Most of these jokes are not about them being billionaires. They're just about the situation.
Yeah, they were stupid.
You know?
I mean,
it's like, think about the world ending. We would be nothing but jokes. Like, we don't care as a species and a race. Like, we take everything.
Oh no, we gonna joke our way through down to the apocalypse. We are joking our way through the apocalypse.
We're in it.
Go ahead, Jamari.
Well, I just think that one of the problems we're going to run into with AI, at least one of the first problems when it comes to anything on the creative front, is the idea that, oh, it's good enough. much like you were talking about earlier, your job essentially isn't about coming up with high art concepts or something like that. It's just, well, we need something, we need a finished product. And the people who are counting coins are going to say, well, we just need a finished product, which is what happens when you get an AI produced intro to a TV show. And we just had a Black Mirror episode talking about how eventually they're just going to AI curate everything to us, where we don't even need the actors to be the actors physically in the thing.
At least the writers get it. They're striking right now.
Yeah.
Shit.
But you know that
Like-
if there's one thing that's going to kind of might put a halt to things is if they have to start paying people. Like
That's litigation, right?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like once, like I look at it the same way I look at what happened with Napster and stuff like that. You know, it was all well and good when it was free, and then as soon as it stopped being free, and they found a way to monetize it, like the big companies found a way to monetize it and found a way to get the money into the creators' hands, then you saw a shift in the. I mean, people still.
Well, they kind of because like I literally
I mean,
just
people still steal music now, but it's not. I don't think it's to the level that it was before.
Nobody's really stealing because like
it's stealing.
I'm paying like $9, right, for like Spotify just so I can use music unlimitedly, right? And so it's $9. It's a lot of users. They're making like a ton of money. The artists aren't getting a ton of that.
But what I'm saying is, it was the beginning of the end of rampant, just like people just taking music, like stealing, like people stealing music, like you, me, and I. Like I was, listen, we were all doing it, but now it's like, well, this service has this, and I only need to pay X amount of money for it. I'd rather do that than be ripping music. And
that's what's happening. That's what's literally about to happen to everybody's job, though. Like literally, even as a comic book artist, right? Like this AI shit, people have already created comic books. They're not great.
You know, it's funny.
What I've
yeah,
seen
I think the difference with the comic book thing is it's like, okay, like I wouldn't be surprised if the big boys do it, but at the same time, I do think it'll be the talent of the individual, and maybe this is the optimist in me. The talent of the individual and the name on the individual will still matter more than somebody doing just the AI of it. Like I could see them doing AI just to throw out. Jamari disagrees. That's fine. But like,
I mean, the thing is, like, so you saw in the Netflix episode, Selma Hayek signed over her likenesses, right? And so that's what you'll get from an artist. And now there's this in perpetuity to like use your, and that's kind of, I think, probably what happened in Adobe right now. Because, all right, so like the way most of this AI, the visual AI technology, where you're creating images and stuff, and I'm sure y'all probably know to a degree, but essentially it's being trained on a bunch of images that exist.
Yeah, I know.
Most of which, for most of these, are copywritten. Yeah. Adobe's is not trained in the same way that these other ones are, and it trains its AI machine or whatever on its current stock pile of stock that it's already currently paying artists for. And so I don't know how they're being paid for this and to what degree. So like I've run this machine a few times for different projects and stuff, right? Fill out a background over here, or like fill out a back over here, or, you know, whatever it is. And so is someone being paid for that? You know? And to what degree is
right? But that's what I'm saying. Once money comes involved, I think we'll see a little bit of legislation, a lot more legislation in the usage.
But that's the thing. Money's already involved.
Well, I mean, to the level that
companies are already making like a lot of money.
Well, they're not to the way it like people are getting.
Well, because it's early stages.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. Like once we get to the Spotify, Apple Music, you know, level when it comes to AI, and money starts making its way to creators.
I mean, it's already being used in both of those
but
platforms.
not when the creators aren't getting money.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, so, and that's kind of the whole thing is like, we're not, and you kind of said earlier, we're not moving fast enough on the legislation and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah,
we're just
nobody
not.
has sat down and said, hold up, stop, wait a minute.
And the thing is, and this is my personal belief, is like, we're not set up to move at the pace that AI is going to move in terms of like our legislation. Like, the way that Black Mirror is putting it is you need, and not just Black Mirror, this is how scientists are putting it right now, is you need, like, if we go Terminator future, right? In our real life, we're going Terminator and the machines are out to get us. Only way we can keep up with them is if we have our own AI that we have programmed to not kill us, essentially, to go up against it. Like, we're just outclassed completely in the AI argument. And so, like, the way our systems are set up right now is just not set up. Like, how long does it take a damn bill to get passed? You know, like,
well, as long as it takes for the people behind it to figure out how they can get paid off of it.
We'll be in trouble truly when you start letting AI really, truly run things right now. The AI that everyone is talking about at this moment doesn't do anything without being prompted to. It's when it can prompt itself, as you were kind of alluding to. That's where it truly becomes AI, truly evolving program.
There's also this. There's a lot of conversations around this, but one of them is that AI may progress at a rate that we can't comprehend in a way by the means of which it communicates with itself, right? And so currently we're only interfacing with it through our human language, through essentially English or, you know, whatever, Cyrillic, maybe, whatever it is you're speaking, you know. And that has a very limited capacity and means of expression. It's the thought process. We don't know exactly what's better in terms of modes of communication. So whether an image, a flat image, a 3D image, an experiential kind of thing, right? As a modal way to and then there are things that we can't think of in terms of like electromagnetic correspondence or some shit like that, you know? So like the way AI is, and this is the scenario that we might want to hope for, is that they're progressing on a different wavelength because they don't necessitate a body, right? Like they exist purely in a completely different space than we can comprehend, really. And so we exist on a different plane than them too. Like they don't have a body. Right. We are not really this digital thing. And so it could be that they just miss us and they don't even see us, right? That's what we should hope for. The other thing the dude described is that maybe we become like ants or like pests to them. And then that's the Terminator kind of scenario almost. I think he also mentioned that maybe they realize that they need us or something like that.
And that's the Matrix. That's the Matrix scenario.
Right.
There's several. There's so many apocalyptic style stories that, you know, the creative world has imagined for us.
This is a dude that worked at Google that watched like a robot pick up a ball, and he said that felt like his child picking up a fucking ball, like a fucking robot arm when it finally figured out how to pick up a ball, and then now it knows how to pick up all balls and all kind of things now because it moves that quickly.
There was a movie, I can't remember what it was, but it was about AI and robots. It was like in every scenario we lose, and in my mind I'm like, we don't have to get there. Every time I think about it, and then every day we just get one step closer. And I'm like, guys, I know you guys grew up watching Terminator. I know you guys, hell, Ex Machina just came out. But anyway,
for the gamer folk, Horizon Zero Dawn, that craziness, which we literally made AI that kills us is the entire concept of that story. So
we could go all day about AI, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about I want to your opportunity to talk about the human center.
Yes, a great segue. Let's So
I want
this
to
is
let's
sort of my
raise spirit.
anti-AI. Right.
Right now, we're just talking about the end of the world. Let's talk about
Well,
something.
I'm not
No.
necessarily. I also have a very optimistic feel about AI as well, that we can get ahead of it and then we become Star Trek. Perfect, right?
Right. I mean, listen, it would be really nice if
We could remove money.
could, but it would require a level of empathy, sympathy, and humanity for people that have the money and the people that are in high places of government for us to get there. And I don't think the current leadership has it. But I do think if we can just get to the generations after, I feel like the younger generation, like that are currently in their early, 20s, early 30s, I think there is a level of, I think they're on a better track than to be the generation that can literally save the world. This is the optimist.
We're trying our best.
This is the
We're
optimist.
just drowning in debt. That's all.
Well, when some of that old money dies away and gets hopefully transferred to some of them, maybe we could get a little further. But right now, we are at the mercy of old money, and we will be at the mercy of old money until that old money passes away.
Well, it's not even that, honestly. We're at the mercy of ourselves as a collective unit, right? So it's a collective choice that we're continuing the way that we are, in all honesty. So getting to the human center, that's kind of what my aim is. You kind of mentioned it a little bit ago, the empathy, compassion, like understanding. But this is mostly for, I want to say, more the average person, because I don't actually know how to reach the heart of someone that has a bazillion dollars and can do whatever the hell he wants with the human body, or with anybody's life, I don't know how to reach that person's heart. I don't know that I've had a conversation with a person like that, but I have because I started this project about a year ago, actually, almost a year to this day. I think it was like June 24th last year or something like that. It's when it came to me. It was a gift from God. But essentially, what I've been doing with this project is having many, many, many deep conversations about what life is for different people from different walks of life. For myself, one, because I want to understand people more and try to understand myself in the midst of all that and how I can go through my life. So I've learned a ton from a ton of people that I've had conversations with. I think I can teach a ton to other people too, that kind of stuff. But I also, with the process that I give people during the interview is I think I offer an opportunity for them to sort of really embrace who they are as a person, embrace their life, and embrace their own humanity to a degree. And so, yeah, that's sort of the gist of it. It's a very specific process to take them through about 10 questions. It was developed over time. Initially, I just wanted to point a camera at a person and say, tell me your truth, tell me your story, talk to me, right? And just have a person tell me that. Most people can't, because one, they haven't thought about this for themselves and if ever, and if not, then they probably haven't recently, for sure. But to a very large degree, most people just don't have nobody really wants to see them in that way. Like, have you ever has anybody ever sat down and asked you about, like, who are you? What is your childhood like? What are your values? Like, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want your life to look like? That kind of stuff, and It's really about encouraging you to live your life very intentionally, because the theme is that everything is limited, right? Like imagine that we're all on this tumbling rock of a submarine, just stumbling through space to God knows where, right? Which we are, right? Like it's a mad dash to the end, really. We don't know. Nobody knows where we're going. Nobody knows what the next moment will bring. You know, you can plan all you want and it's going to change. And so the idea is to embrace the madness and to embrace your life and to live intentionally, because you just don't know what tomorrow brings. And so for myself personally, I try to live in a way, make choices in a way, and be intentional in how I move through the world, that kind of thing, so that when I get home, I can go to sleep and feel great. So that whenever my time comes, I know that the life that I live, I don't have regrets, that I know that every choice that I made, every person I loved, every, career path that I might have, I'm not changing really careers so much, I guess. But I've changed passions quite many times. I've changed types of art. Like I paint, I make clothes, I dance, I've made jewelry, I made, like for me, I'm really trying to experience as much of life as I can, and not like limit my own potential in that, And so that's always my encouragement to everybody else in their own life, whatever that looks like, like you could literally want to live your life at home and not do anything. And that's your choice, and I won't say nothing against it, And so part of the exercise in all of this process is, all right, so I'm trying to bring people closer to themselves for one, but now I'm encouraging you to be a vulnerable person, because when we share who we are and what our vulnerabilities are, what our life is like, what our values are, that gives everybody, or most people, like I don't know how the rich people think, and people that are like essentially sociopaths, that kind of stuff, right? I don't know how they think, but essentially the more you know about a person, the more you tend to care about them, right? If you know more about someone's backstory, you know that they struggle to like make that one drawing that you just kind of talk shit about, or they struggle to make that one piece of music that took a ton of courage for them to even show to the world, and we dog shit it. That's just kind of how the world is, right? And so for me, the only way to break through that is not to do that, but to like not do that. And the more you not do that, the more it not gets done, I guess.
Right.
To a degree.
All right. Go ahead, Jamari.
So kind of what is it eventually evolved with? Are you still in just the idea, in the whole interest of just telling stories, or are you is there more anything proactive?
It's so this isn't about like changing lives, or I don't really care for charity work, so this isn't a charity. This is more so an opportunity and a platform for someone to voice their life and say, I exist, is kind of how I look at it. And so that sort of is the platform and the opportunity, generally speaking. The interview itself, the way that it is right now, that's a very limited aspect of the Human Center. So it's the Human Center, and what I'm doing right now is called the Archive, which is just a very specific, sterile look at humanity. It's a time capsule, so that's kind of why it's black and white, and it's very much about a very specific moment in time. So it's a raw cut interview, that kind of thing. And so it's a very specific thing, but I have other projects that are under the Human Center that are based around storytelling right now. And generally, that's kind of what I want to do. Think Smithsonian, but experiential and less about the objects of humanity, right? So more about what a person's life is. And like, so I got a lot of my idea from this thing that exists here in Atlanta called the Human Rights Center, I believe, or Civil Rights Center, something like that. And and I've not been there yet. I just hear that this is what happens, is that they have a place upstairs where you can like check out a human being like it's a book. So you can learn about a person by checking them out. And so that's kind of what the idea here in small is, but I kind of want to do something like that full scale. And so in my mind, I don't know if you've seen the Time Capsule, the movie.
Yeah.
Either of you? Yeah. All right. And so in the future, when he gets to the future, there's Orlando Brown's character, which is like an AI that is in a screen, and humanity's nowhere, but like this AI exists and he knows everything about humanity, and you can just pull up like a dude, right? And learn about a person or learn about a particular time or whatever, and he'll tell you about it. And so that's kind of how I see this existing at some point as well, is something that, especially thinking about like the Google Vision thing, where you can have like a really cool virtual experience that isn't necessitated to be a game or something, but just something you can kind of experience. So imagine even with, and the vision thing might be an interesting thing to explore. Now I'm thinking about it because it does this stereoscopic kind of recording kind of thing. So you can kind of walk through a recorded environment or situation or something like that. And I take it Black Mirror, take that 10 years into the future, what that technology is, and maybe you are literally being able to walk through a full experience. And so that's kind of like, I'm kind of seeing this as more of a production storytelling situation with humanitarian implications that isn't really about making a movie or about making film so much as telling human stories and trying to get across what the human experience is so that other people can learn from each other, and so that we can kind of more so realize that we're all a part of this great fabric that is the human story.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds awesome, man. I got to be honest with you. It sounds ambitious.
Oh, it's ambitious. We'll see what happens.
Hey, listen,
I'm
man.
just
You know me.
enjoying where I'm at with it.
The show is for ambition, if nothing else. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from here. Let me know if there's anything I can do on my end to help.
Well, when I'm up north, I'll definitely be looking to interview you, man.
I'm here, man. If I'm here, just let me know. Okay. Jamari, you got anything else? Any other questions?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so
this fascinating talk, especially on the AI elements there.
Yeah, we kind of dipped our toe in it a couple of weeks ago. The AI stuff. I forgot who we had on. We were talking about it. It's there's like no real easy answer for any of it. I mean, again, I feel like there are people that are like shut it all down, and I'm like, there's no way in hell. It's like the internet. Once the internet got out, you can't put the internet back in a box.
It's like trying to plug a dam, right?
Yeah,
and that's perfect analogy to it. But the hope, the as we talked about, the hope for it and the optimism is that we are able to ignore our base impulses and regulate it so it doesn't become a problem. But hope you got your Terminator 2 survival kits ready. Otherwise, but we are happy for Chris being on the show. I do apologize for the abbreviated nature. I am sole parent today, sole parent number 1. So I gotta go watch the little person and make sure he's okay. But we want you to come back on. If you got some more projects, anything new coming up, please come back on. We can rap more about AI. You can go to his website, Dem Good Vibes. For any products related to his creative endeavors. As you can see, he talked about the fashion. We support here, so please check it out. And again, you are welcome on the show anytime. This was fun catching up with you. And hopefully we get to catch up in person at some point in the
Yeah,
future. I don't know when
We
I'll
got
be
to
in
now.
Atlanta.
We've seen each other's faces.
I
so,
know.
but intentionality. I'm gonna see you within the next year.
I used to see Chris all the time, obviously, because we were at SCAD, but we used to hang a little bit. But I came up north. I didn't see nobody from SCAD. Actually, that's not true.
I'll be honest, like it's difficult to see anybody from SCAD in general. And there's people in the city, but like it's difficult seeing anybody. Everybody's working hard.
I don't know if I told this story, but believe it or not, I was in New York. And I think my wife was doing something. It was something for my wife was doing, and I was just like, she's doing that. I'm just gonna go walk around. And I was walking around New York, and I ran into Maite.
Yeah,
I ran into Maite.
Yeah, that's super random because I think she's in like Trinidad or something.
I don't know if she's in New York, but this was years ago. This was a few years ago.
Okay.
But I just randomly, it was like out of everybody in the world, I ran into a SCAD person. But I run into SCAD folks I don't run into them, but I see them like driving around Connecticut with the SCAD sticker in there. So they're out there, man. I might not know them.
There's I've met a lot of SCAD students and just generally artsy people from Connecticut. So
really, because our art scene not as
robust. Y'all moved down here. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Y'all all have moved down
We're
here.
not as robust as I would like for us to be, but I know there are a lot of people and some who've been on this show that are working to change that. But we can get into that another day. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you. We really do.
Thank you.
Like I said, www.demgoodvibes.com. That's vibes with a Z. And next week, we have another SCAD alumni, Erica Wade, is going to come on the show and talk. She might be after our time, though, because I met her through the SCAD Facebook portal type deal. So we've had last week we had Loso, who was a SCAD student as well. So we had a couple, 3 in a row, really. So
there are a lot of SCAD students that I don't know.
Oh yeah, my last story, and we'll go. I was at the Comic-Con last weekend, and SCAD was there. They had a table, they had a booth.
Oh wow!
And the guy running the booth was a part of my class of '99 from Savannah, Georgia. Wow. And I had never met him before in my life.
Yeah,
it was crazy. He was just like,
and Savannah is a bigger campus.
Yeah, it was a bigger campus, but still, it was just like, of all the years, it was my year. But anyway, thank y'all for stopping by for another episode of A Stoked Podcast, creative talk with creative people. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Peace.